Did you know that one tiny line in your hair can completely transform your face? Cryptic. I know. I'm talking about your hair part. Simply shifting your part line can visually slim your face, highlight your cheekbones, create more balance, and even refresh your whole look with no scissors and no color needed. Today I'm going to show you how to find your natural part, how to experiment with new ones, and I'm going to outline which parts tend to flatter different face shapes, hair textures, and which ones you should really look to avoid. I really hope that it inspires you to try something new today. It definitely inspired me to do a new part, so let's get into it. The very first step is to find where your hair naturally wants to part. So you're gonna do that by starting with towel dried hair, combing everything straight back, and then pushing it forward with your hands. 9 times out of 10, your hair will split exactly where it wants to, and that's because of something called your growth pattern. Your growth pattern is just the natural direction that your hair grows out of your scalp. Each strand actually has its own angle, which is why most of us end up with like a default part line. So think of it like a fingerprint, but for your hair. The growth pattern is what creates things like cowlicks at the front or swirls at the back. You definitely see the swirls at the crown in boys and men very clearly. We have them too, but long hair can hide it a little bit better. But you can train those growth patterns a little bit with styling, but at the end of the day, your growth pattern will always have an influence on which parts look and feel the most natural. So keep that in mind when we go through these parts, because sometimes there's a certain part that might not even be possible for you based on how strong your growth pattern is. So with that said, how do you actually try out new parts without your cowlick forcing your hair back into its usual spot? That is the dilemma, isn't it? So the key is to take control of the roots, but you can only take control of them when your hair is still very wet. Okay, so we're gonna do this in the wet stage when we're blowing our hair out. Instead of blow drying along your natural part line like we're used to doing, blow dry everything straight back. As you do this, switch up the direction. Backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, until your roots are completely dry and smooth. This keeps your hair from locking into one direction, so by the time it's dry, the roots are flexible and you can flip your part whichever way you want to. If your hair is fine or tends to fall really flat like mine does, you can add a little extra lift by setting the top section in Velcro rollers or clipping the roots while it cools and then releasing. All right, now for the good stuff. Let's experiment. Let's start with the middle part. This one has been trending for years now. You see it all over the runways, all over social media and the celebrity world. It's everywhere. A middle part gives a sleek, balanced look and puts a spotlight on your cheekbones, which is why it works so beautifully on diamond face shapes like J-Lo or heart-shaped faces like Reese Witherspoon's. But with that said, it's not for everyone because it has very little vertical lift. So it can actually make the face look wider, especially if you already have a lot of fullness in the cheeks or very thick hair. On curly hair textures and even thick straight hair, especially those that are not layered well, it can even create that very triangular effect. And since the line runs straight down the center of the face, it also emphasizes any facial asymmetry. So if you love the vibe that this part gives, but it doesn't feel right on your face and you want to soften it up, try shifting it just slightly off center. You'll still get that very modern middle part look, but it's way more forgiving and a lot easier to wear. Just a quick reminder that if you're liking this video and enjoy videos like these, go ahead and click that subscribe button right now. It's the #1 way that you can support me as a creator, and it really means a lot. So thank you in advance for doing that. Now let's look at the natural side part. In my experience in the salon, about 90% of my clientele had a really soft natural side part. So it's no surprise that this is the part that most of us default to because it follows our growth pattern, usually feels the most comfortable, and it's definitely the least risky. One really good thing about it is that it breaks up that center line down the face. So if you have any asymmetry at all, this part really helps balance things out. For curly or wavy textures, it's great for redistributing volume so the hair doesn't fan out too wide. It really is just a very easy, very wearable, very flattering part line. It's the one you can count on every day without overthinking it. Although with that said, I do have to admit that it's just really not that exciting. So let's move on. So to make it a little more exciting, let's take the side part further and introduce a deep side part. A deep side part instantly changes the vibe of a side part. It throws more hair over to one side, which creates big volume right by the face and lots of movement. You'll notice it builds height at the crown, so it's amazing if you want to elongate the face or just add drama. It also works like built-in layering. My haircut, for example, is a blunt cut cut in the middle part. So technically there aren't any layers, it's completely even. But then when I shift all my hair over to one side, you can see that the pieces on top suddenly look a bit shorter because they have to travel further, right? Those shorter pieces fall over the longer sections underneath, which instantly creates the effect of layers and body without actually cutting the hair. Pretty cool, right? A deep side part is especially flattering on round faces because that extra lift makes the face look longer and more oval. And if you have a beautiful jawline, opening up one side of the face while framing the other really highlights that bone structure. Now let's flip things around with the opposite side part. Most of us never ever try parting our hair in the opposite way than it wants to fall because it feels very unfamiliar. It almost feels wrong, but it can completely transform your look. By switching to the opposite side, you're actually going against your growth pattern, and that creates instant lift at the roots. The best part of this part, is that this volume doesn't collapse throughout the day because it's supported by how your hair naturally grows. It's not blow-dried volume that will fall flat, it's built-in cowlick lift. Parting in this way is especially good if your hair tends to lie really flat or if you want more body without using a ton of products. It feels a little strange at first. My clients always say that it feels strange, but once you get used to it, you might be surprised as to how much you actually love it. I converted so many clients to the opposite side part because you put it on there and it's like instant, long-lasting volume. The cowlick is like a push-up bra for your hair. And finally, let's talk about the zigzag part. If you grew up in the 90s or early 2000s, you'll definitely remember this one. It was absolutely everywhere. I have to admit that I still find it looks a little bit outdated, especially when the hair is super slicked back, okay? Then it's like a blast from the past, it's so 90s. But when it's done right and the hair is down, it can actually be very, very flattering. Jennifer Aniston wears it constantly. And I even had a client in her 60s who used to come see me in my studio who also rocked it beautifully. It looked absolutely amazing on her. And the reason it can work so well is because it instantly adds root lift and gives your hair a very playful and textured vibe. It's also a surprisingly practical part line because since the line is broken up, it really disguises regrowth, thinning, it even disguises oily roots. And then on finer flat hair, it can create the illusion of volume in a really beautiful way. And on thicker texture, it actually breaks up the weight so the hair sits with more lift instead of falling and sitting very heavy. It's a statement look for sure, but if you're feeling confident, it really is such a fun way to change things up. Just try it in the bathroom. It doesn't have to be a permanent thing. It might surprise you. Finally, I want to show you a part that I recently learned that feels like the perfect blend of a zigzag part with a more modern twist. So you start in the middle, then you zig once to the side, then you zig back again, and you finish in the middle. The result is a part that gives the illusion of a side part, but still has the trendiness of a middle part with that little zigzag detail. I've seen a lot of girls wearing their hair like this lately on social media, and I think it's definitely worth trying out too. I think it's fun. It's just something fun and different. Now, if you're curious about bangs and which bangs might flatter your face shape the most, then I've got you covered. In this video, I break it all down so you can easily find the style that works best just for you. I'll see you over there.